Okay, thank you for everyone joining today's webinar on all-in-one travel and expense management on Salesforce Financial Force. We're joined today by the Cloudteam company, a consulting firm founded in 2014 and located in the Netherlands, who've integrated SalesTrip and Financial Force in order to drive better efficiencies, integration, and data insights for their professional services practice. Just quickly before we begin, some quick housekeeping. So everybody in attendance will receive a recording of today's webinar, and any questions that you may have can be posted either to everyone or privately through chat on the bottom right of your screen. So if we just move to the next slide. In the next 30 minutes, we'll cover the business reasons and the output from integrating an on-platform travel and expense solution with Financial Force on Salesforce. And then we'll move forward and Iris will be demonstrating what they have put together. So with us today, we've got Gert-Jan van Wien, who is managing partner of Cloudteam company. So welcome, GJ. Tell us a little bit about the company.
Yes. So thank you very much. Very briefly, so Cloudteam was erected in 2014, focusing specifically on the implementations of Salesforce and Financial Force, and adding other partners to the network, to the ecosystem, like our partnership with SalesTrip. We implemented SalesTrip ourselves to further enhance our business process setup. And to fully utilize the possibilities of an end-to-end business process flow in our organization. And obviously we hope and are gaining that expertise, and we hope that we can bring that expertise and experience down to other clients as well, as showing how we use it and the benefits it's creating for you as a business owner, so to say. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So very successful in Europe in doing a lot of implementations. So we covered now 43 implementations in total, ranging from full ERP down to more a module approach by clients. So it's more a program style where we will implement module per module year over year. But at the end, it's great to see how it's really helping our clients drive their business. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. So maybe back to you then on SalesTrip.
Yep. So just very briefly, just for everyone's benefit. So SalesTrip was founded in 2017, and SalesTrip is you can find it on the App Exchange on Salesforce just by literally Googling that. We are a native application directly built into the Salesforce platform. So SalesTrip is an all-in-one travel booking, ticketing, and expense management system built natively on Salesforce. And the intent is to ultimately change how organizations manage and justify corporate travel and expenses today. So as an employee, you can physically book trips and submit expense claims directly from Salesforce. And that's driven by the dynamic CRM data and everything you're used to and take advantage of within your existing Salesforce instance. And the intent is ultimately to have the full visibility of spend, but also to drive sales productivity for the individuals, so taking away the pain of booking and giving better idea of how to manage their time in the field, and giving companies actionable travel insights from all the data that's aggregated from that travel expense spend, so that you as an organization can gain full return on investment analysis of your business, and particularly your employee spend management. There is no other platform-based travel and expense management system built on a CRM in the world. So we're very privileged that the Cloudteam company has picked this and integrated it with their existing practice. All right. So that's a bit of a heads up. So Gert-Jan, let's kick this off by helping us understand your business goals and objectives for 2019, and really what made you focus on spend management.
Yeah, so it was a natural next step in the way how we set up Salesforce and Financial Force, driving our business process. So we already have now the Sales Cloud, Services Cloud installed, connecting to our cloud ERP. So the finance part, PSA part, and HR part. So that's all running fine. And so we were looking for the next step. And so our next step was really in 2019 to get grip and control over, let's say, over our total spend, total cost of doing business, so to say, including the travel part. We also wanted to eliminate really a couple of manual process steps that we still had there. And at the same go, making it very easy for our employees to use this system to actually put in their expenses and to book their travels. So kind of a hassle-free process with a very fast, let's say, reimbursement possibility. So let's say the next day that we can reimburse, and so that's not a pile up on your personal account that you made all those expenses. So we call it more like we want to give that Uber kind of experience to our employees. Yeah, so that's the objective for 2019 on those three elements. So we are really confident in the SalesTrip environment that we can actually achieve this. So we can, yeah, maybe I can explain a bit more on the and on the, let's say, the optimized process part. So if you look at the increase of the productivity of let's say our travelers, our employees, it's all about how easy is it to combine, let's say, on one hand the booking of your travel out of the system, and at the same time then handing in that expense. Now this is really we see this as a new way of doing this. It's really different than everything before. So in this case, as an employee, you can actually book your travel. Let's say your travel down to London, where our consultants need to do a project. They, from the system, from the Salesforce system, from SalesTrip, they can actually then schedule their flight. They have their own options, what time, whatever, but it is linking to their personal policy, so they can only choose economy class, for instance. And if they are, let's say, more experienced, more and longer with the company, they might get, let's say, some upgrades there. So they can only choose what is entitled to them. And by booking the flight, they at the same go will create their expense out of it. So it's one click, it's generated and it's sent in. So it's very fast, very lean, and it's really connecting to the same way how they will handle their receipts on the lunch or whatever, in the same go, the same system, sending that all in. So it's really going to create a far improved and better process for our employees.
So Hertjan, so now you got access to all that data. So what do you plan on doing with it?
Well, so there are two sides to it. So one is on the spend and integration with projects. So now we have then eased up, let's say, the process of how you do your travel, how do you do your expense management. And now in that same go, we can link it to our projects. So if the expense is sent in, it's very easy for the consultant to say it's billable, it's non-billable to the client. Now, let's say if it's billable to the client, it's summing up in the projects. And that means that there's a full integration with our PSA, Financial Force PSA setup. Now in that project setup, we also had a allocated budget for expenses. So it's one flow, one overview. We can control the projects, and also the consultant itself, they can see how much they are spending and if they are still within the budget. And then we have different approval flows behind really managing, let's say, the ability to, let's say, stay within your budget or getting alerts if they might go over that budget. But it's really, for us, it's the connection between the expense part and the project part as being part of the total solution for us. Now, with that ability and that we are tracking this on a project basis, then obviously we have, let's say, the third goal is that we are, let's say, getting in control of our company-wide spend. And that because we can do the drill down to the project level, down, let's say, also to the opportunity level. So how much cost are we making to get a business closed, to get a business in? So what is eventually the return on investment on all the costs that we make? Now, and maybe so for the people in the call, you would recognize this. I have recognized this in multiple companies that I used to work for. It's always discussions about, there is no budget to travel around. There's a travel ban, which is a nice wording, and so in so many cases not logical. So like I was running and driving a lot of big programs in the past. I had a travel ban, but I made it as part of my cost of the project, and that even was not allowed, and it was so strange. And that's why we had the vision. We want to do it in the right way. So if your cost is still within the budget in your project, why should you then have a travel ban? It's up to you to make that call, and wrapping that all up to, let's say, the company-wide overview. It should give you the controls. Are you still doing okay company-wide? Now, so this is more or less how we will and how we are now using the SalesTrip system. And I think there's also kind of a nice handover to Iris that she can actually kind of show a bit, so you get a look and feel of how the system will work as being fully integrated in the Salesforce and Financial Force part. Iris, is that okay for you?
Yes.
Yes, then I'll stop my sharing and I'll hand it to you.
Thank you, Herjan. Okay, so let me share my screen. I hope you're all able to see my screen.
Yes.
So I'm in our Salesforce org, and this is basically our consultant dashboard. So as a consultant, I'm able to book a new trip from my homepage. I have some insights on projects and budgeting, expenses, able to access recent records. So basically everything that I want to see in one overview, and I will drill into each report a little bit more during the demo. What's very interesting to see actually for me is that I have a trip coming up. So here I can see what's next. I actually have a trip in one day, which is a flight from London back to Amsterdam. So basically the system is telling me right now, I have taken a flight this morning to London from Amsterdam, and I'm working right now with a customer on a project that's based in London. So on the left side, I have some assignments. So these are basically my assignments to projects where I'm allocated to. So these are my current projects that I'm working on. And this is the project, the Salesforce review that I'm working on right now. So I'm at the customer in London, and this is my assignment. So related to my assignment are some standard PSA objects. So you could see that I've logged some time actually against this assignment. So I've been working on this assignment. I have some trips actually booked against this assignment. So this means that I have been traveling for this assignment. And as you can see, I actually have a trip right now. So start the 8th of, so today, and I will fly back tomorrow. So that's telling me that I'm right now in London with this customer. It also shows me that next week, I actually have another trip scheduled for this customer. And it will be a one-day travel, so going back and forth. So let's assume I'm at the customer right now and we're discussing the project planning, and actually they're asking me that I need to come on site as well in 2 weeks. So basically while I'm there, I can quickly schedule my trip from the assignment itself. So what I will do, I will click the new trip button, and it will pre-populate my flying from airports. So this is SalesTrip allows you to set up some user preferences. And basically because I'm based in Amsterdam, I selected Amsterdam Airport as my main flying from airport. So I have to choose some dates. So I discussed with the customer that I will be there on site the 26th. And I want to fly in the morning because then I can arrive at the office in the morning and actually spend my full day there. I'm flying to Heathrow because the customer is based in London, and I want to fly back the next day at the end of the day. So I have 2 full days with the customer. I'm able to also add a time range, so I can select if I want to see flights for the entire day or if it really needs to take into account the time that I've selected and add maybe 2 hours to this time range. So let me add these 2 hours, and I said, find my trip. So all this I'm doing from Salesforce itself.
So it's important to note here that that what you're about to do is related back to any business object or business activity, as Iris referred to. So allocating the spend to that. And what the system is now doing is going to the SalesTrip engine, shopping engine, which is plugged into the reservation systems from the airlines, and is sourcing content based on your shopping request, which is around timelines you want to depart and arrive. But it also takes into consideration the individual's profile. That could be mileage membership rewards, could be any preferences that have been loaded either centrally by the company or by the individual, and also takes into consideration policy as well. So what carriers you can travel with and what carriers you can't travel with as an employee of your business.
Yes, thanks, Matt. So here you can see that it actually has provided me with a list of available flights for these dates. I'm also able to filter and sort these flights by, for example, adding the maximum number of stops, or I want to sort by cheapest first or fastest first. Also, when I want to drill into a flight, for example, this one from British Airways, I can unfold the show flight details. And here it shows me the route that I'm taking, but it also shows me a fare breakdown and the fare conditions of that particular flight.
Important also to add at this point, SalesTrip is actually a subscription-based system. So we don't make any money from transaction fees or markups. So what you're seeing here is the fare directly from the carrier, or any negotiated fares that you have arranged with those suppliers. We will source them at net cost, okay? And we will deliver them in a ticketed to the employee at a net cost. Okay, that's just important to note there.
Yes, thanks, Matt. So here I have my flight details, and let's say I'll just go for this flight. It takes me there in the morning, and I'll be departing in the afternoon, so that's great. And I'm going to say, okay, book now. What it will do, I have in my user preferences, I have set up my payment method, my default payment method, and I've also set up a travel document. So I don't have to enter any credit card details or any passport numbers, because it knows from my user preferences what my passport is. So this is very useful, because I always, when I try to book a flight, I have to get a text to my husband asking me for what my passport number actually is. And this system just knows it by default, which is really useful. So I'm happy to take this flight, and I'm now saying purchase ticket. So what the system will do right away, it will reserve my flight. And as soon as I reserve my flight, I will get an email in my inbox showing me my traveling details. So basically, since we are working in a sandbox, it shows me one from Thai Airlines because we're not actually booking a flight. But it will show me all my flight details, some receipt details and payment details as well. And it will right away book it straight into my Gmail calendar, which is very useful. Okay, so let me go back to my flights. What it will also do is it will create an expense in the background. So there's no need for me to create another expense with my receipt and the flight that I just booked, but it will right away do it for me. So this can take a while. So what I want to do now is, since I'm at the customer in London, I actually want to book an expense, because at the airport in London, I quickly ordered a lunch. So what I will do, I will stop sharing right now from my desktop, and I will start sharing on my mobile phone to show you how I can book an expense from my phone. Okay, so now you're seeing my phone actually. So what I will do, I will just go to the Salesforce One app, and it takes me straight to expenses, because I have expenses as one of the default objects for me to when I open up my Salesforce One app. And what I can do, I can just open a new expense and I can upload a new receipt. So I will go to my library because I already took a picture. So let me open up my library. And this is actually my receipt from this morning. So what it will do, there's an OCR tool from SalesTrip, and it will actually scan my receipt and make sure that I don't have to enter all the expense details from the receipt again, but I will just copy it into the expense tool. So here's loading the results. It scanned the purchase date, but what I want to do is I will set the date to today, because what's really useful at SalesTrip is whenever you set the purchase date to a certain date, it looks in the system if there are any trips taking place in that certain date range. And because I'm taking a trip right now to London, it assumes that this expense is actually related to this trip. So I don't have to relate it again or find the trip again. And also the business purpose related to the trip, so this assignment that I'm working on, is already pre-populated. So let me change the type because it's actually an individual mail. Let me add a description. It also has taken my payment method from the user preferences. It has scanned the reimbursement amount and it shows the scanned fields in orange. So I can quickly check what has been actually scanned and update it if necessary. But this all looks fine. I have the VAT amount. It takes an exchange rate based on XE. And here it shows the amount to bill, and it's actually a billable expense. I can bill the customer for this. And I will click on save, and it will be automatically submitted if I press submit on save. Okay, so it says success, expense saved and submitted. And if I check, here it says approved. And if I check my related details, it actually shows in the approval history that it has been approved. And what we've done internally is we have set up approval flows. SalesTrip's just using standard Salesforce approval flows. And what we set up is that every expense below 25 euros is actually automatically approved to make sure that managers are not spending all their time on improving expenses. Everything below 25 euros will be automatically approved. So I've uploaded one expense, and actually I want to upload another expense manually because I've also traveled to the airport in Amsterdam. So I'm going to enter some mileage. So let me search for mileage. It was a trip to the airport. And on the user preference, you can add the origin. So by default, it takes, for example, in my case, it takes the office, our office address as the origin, and the destination is Amsterdam Airport. Schiphol. And what it will do, it will automatically calculate the distance. And right now for my user, it's setting kilometers, but it can also do it by miles. And then SalesTrip, for SalesTrip, you can set up mileage rules per country. Or you can even set up multiple based on certain rules to calculate the amount that will be reimbursed to the employee. So here you can see for this, for 110 kilometers, I will get the 20 euros. And I will do submit on save. And also for this mileage, it takes into account that I'm on a trip right now, and it automatically pre-populates my business purpose. So let's press save, and it will be submitted right away. So let me stop sharing my screen from my phone and go back into the tool. So basically, this is a expense that I've pre-filled already. This one is in approval flow. And like I said before, it's just using standard Salesforce approval flows. So we can configure any kind of approval flow based on your company policies. What's very useful as well for approvers is that there's already a preview of the file or of the receipt. So you don't need to download any file, but you can just click on it and check what the receipt says and compare it against the expense. Then the integration that we've actually built between SalesTrip and PSA is once an expense, a SalesTrip expense has been approved, it will end up in this list. And basically, there's a job running. Right now we've scheduled it once a day, but we can adjust it to whatever your company needs. And this job will take expenses and will process them into expense reports for anyone who's familiar with Financial Force PSA. And these expense reports can then be changed into payable invoices. So because this job is running automatically, you don't have to look at this actually. But right now, because of the demo, I'll just push this one to become an expense report in PSA. So this will now be processed. And what I will do in this list view, these are my expense reports. And expense reports is basically, it's a group of expenses related to a certain project. So it will combine all the expenses that I've submitted on one day, and it will combine it into one report for one particular project. Or if you choose to schedule it less, for example, once every 2 days, it will combine all the expenses of 2 days from one project and convert it into an expense report. And why it's very useful that it combines it into one expense report is because this way, once you process it into a payable invoice, you don't have to pay every single expense, but it basically combines a certain amount of expenses, and then you just pay one big reimbursement amount to your employee, which limits the amount of transactions that you need to do. So what we've done as well, these are my expense reports. So basically, our finance manager will have a look at these expense reports and can process them into payable invoices. Or if you're happy the way, if they're approved, they should be paid, then your finance manager doesn't even need to look at this, and a job will be running once a day. Or again, we can change this per company, and we'll just process all of these expense reports into payable invoices. But for the demo purpose, let me just process one expense report into a payable invoice. So let's say create payable invoice if you want to run it right away. And what it will do right now, it will create a payable invoice in your finance system. So you're able to pay this payable invoice or reimburse this payable invoice to your employee. And it's creating the payable invoice right now. In the meantime, what I want to do is go back to our project, because what we've done, we've booked a trip and we've booked some expenses against this project. So what's very useful to see is once I scroll down into my project to my project actuals, here I have an overview of my the overall project budget. So just for the services part, but for this project, we've also set up an expense budget. So here you can see that my overall project budget is £15,000, and we've set up an expense budget for £600. And here you can right away see that I have some expense costs already. And actually, because these expense costs were all billable, they're also listed as pass-through billings because they can be invoiced to the customer. And this is just standard PSA functionality. Once I press project billing, I can invoice these expenses to my customer. So here I see some time cards that I can still invoice, but I can also see here I have some expenses that I can invoice. So let's say I want to invoice 2 expenses. I'll just select the expenses that I want to invoice, and I'll press generate billing event, which creates a sales invoice in my finance system, and allows me to invoice these expenses to the customer. So then going back to my home page, since I've booked another trip, let me refresh it. real quick. So since I have booked another trip, in this list, I will see what kind of upcoming flights I will have. So here you can see that my trip is from the 22nd of May is here as well listed. It has updated my expenses. So how many expenses are improved, how many are already reimbursed, to which expenses do I still need to add a receipt, for example, or which ones are pending approval. So I need to follow up with my manager if he doesn't approve quickly enough. And then as a project manager, it's very useful again to see what's the overall budget, what's my expense budget, and what are actually my expense costs. Yes, so this was actually the demo for today. So Gert-Jan, back to you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Iris, for taking us all over this expense and travel management solution. So let's, for the people in the call, if you would raise a question, that's we have a short moment now, a couple of minutes remaining. You can also type it in the chat box, or you can raise your voice and ask your question.
We've had 2 questions come in already that have been replied to, but just for everyone's benefit, I'll share them. So first of all, will SalesTrip connect to Office 365? If you have the Salesforce calendar, you can connect the calendar or automatically, which is a native function from Salesforce. So all the data that's coming from SalesTrip will just roll back into Salesforce, and then from your existing Salesforce platform, you can have that integrated with any third-party systems that you're currently employing. And obviously, Cloudteam company are experts in that area and can provide assistance around that. The other question that came through was, what about cancellation fees, rebookings, etc.? Is this included? So two responses on that. So first of all, SalesTrip has a full service center support, so with 24-hour assistance. So if you need any changes, amendments, cancellations, anything like that, the service center will be able to provide that for you. On the roadmap, those processes will be automated. However, the user will be able to find the IATA fare rulings and supplier rulings on the physical booking screens, which they can open up so they can see any restrictions around advanced purchase or cancellation or amendments that will be applied. And obviously those supplier fees will be at net charge as well, because we don't charge anything for those. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Matt, for giving some additional answers to the questions.
One other question, sorry. Do you offer 24 with the 24-hour assistance, safety help assistance, anything like that? One thing that wasn't shown as part of the demonstration is obviously the data integration for duty of care. So you can obviously plug in third-party applications, for example, GeoPoint, that comes as standard with SalesTrip, that can map where employees are around the world for any duty of care requirements. And obviously you can integrate third-party data from the likes of International SOS or Anvil or World Health Organization or anything like that for any particular disasters that may be happening in the world. For example, like Sri Lanka or anything that's happening where your employees may be. And obviously through Salesforce Chatter, you can reach out and communicate with those people and an action as appropriate. And obviously that's real-time actionable data that you can work with. That obviously wasn't shown, but you can fold that into the solution. Okay, what about local laws and regulations? Is this integrated in the solution for global use? Yeah, everything you see here is available wherever Salesforce is available. And obviously what we're doing is providing the data back into Salesforce. So wherever you're using Salesforce, however you're running your own system, that's where we're putting the data back into. So for global access. Another question. Do you offer this service to actively manage this with our need to install cover this? I'm not quite sure. That's from Philip. So I think that relates to the 24-hour servicing. It's regard to the operation of 24-hour safety. Yeah. So do you offer this service to actively manage this? So this will come as the service will come as standard, and it comes with the overall offering from SalesTrip. So obviously that's 24-hour assistance, global assistance, wherever those employees may be or wherever the companies are located. And that is obviously in multi-language as well, capabilities. Question from Karen. We're not using the PSA. How could we anyway benefit out of it, or is there a demo for non-PSA users? Yeah, I mean, obviously, SalesTrip is a standalone solution. In this particular instance, this was designed specifically for companies operating a professional service practice as part of their organizational standalone consultancy organization like Cloudteam company. The SalesTrip is an independent application that you can procure directly, and which Cloudteam company can obviously deliver for you. It's how you want to integrate that with the other solutions that you have as part of your Salesforce environment. Lots of questions coming in, which is good. How safe is personal data credit cards? Although it's in the Salesforce cloud, is there any additional security with SalesTrip? Yes, SalesTrip is fully PCI compliant, and also obviously so is Salesforce as well. So the credit card and your personal card data is stored within Salesforce, so applies to the PCI compliance that Salesforce operates. When that card is used, the card is then, what happens is it creates a token, and that token is shared into the SalesTrip engine that is then retokenized for the purchase. So it's encrypted, and then it will come back in to Salesforce and allocate back to the processed transaction. So both Salesforce and SalesTrip are fully PCI compliant, and we have all the documents and regulations that we can share if you have any queries around that. Next question, can SalesTrip directly connect to company credit cards? Yes, both central payment cards and individual credit cards. Depends what card types you're using. Both are available and can be allocated centrally within the administration settings or by the individual. Depends what card programs you're running, and we can help you navigate through those if you have any questions around how to best manage your program in that respect. So purchases done by a credit card will be logged directly in the system. No need to manually capture those expenses. No need to manually capture those. Obviously, the reconciliation with the card and the receipt will happen at the expense level. And all card types, MasterCard, Visa, you have American Express, Diners, AirPlus, those cards are available. For the purpose just around other suppliers that can be booked through SalesTrip, hotel, car. So integrated, there are a number of releases that are taking place right now around integrated hotels, like booking.com. Those can easily be punched out or plugged into the SalesTrip engine API, depending upon what your program looks like. Obviously, every company has a very unique take on the preferred supply usage and the car, if they have any negotiated rates with like the Hertz's or Avis's or hotel groups or wherever that is. Obviously, speak to us about what your program looks like, and then how we can integrate that within the engine. But as standard, we will be making some standardized supplies into the system, which will be based on the most popular cloud-based supplier solutions for hotel, car, rail, which obviously may take too long to demo in this particular instance, but we can go through that separately. Okay, those are all the questions that have come through so far.
Okay, well, thanks, Matt, for the extensive answering. So to anyone, yes, we will shut down and close down now the webinar, looking at the time. So everybody who joined, we will share the recordings of it. And if there are additional questions, then you can reach out to us or directly to SalesTrip. But once again, thanks everybody for joining. Thanks Iris for giving the demonstration, and thanks Matt for being able to answer all the questions and doing the introduction. So hopefully for next time we schedule this same webinar also for the 15th of May. So if you would like to rejoin, that's possible, or pass on the message. So there's an additional possibility next week as well. Thank you very much, and I wish you a good working day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.